What is up, everyone? I'm Jeff London. This is the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast, where we are intolerant and weak-minded attitudes that keep people from pursuing new and exciting things in the areas of fitness, outdoors, and general lifestyle. Coming to you from my truck, just beat the rain in. It's the 28th of October, and I just got done doing a little circuit that included muskegs and some timber. It should be like a pre-rut time. I know some people have been calling in deer, but I think next week is going to probably be the big time there. So, camped Friday night, went out yesterday, and then went back to, I ran out of food. I was so excited, man. It was unbelievable how excited I was. I just saw everything going perfectly. I just saw getting up, and I just saw the silhouette of, well, not silhouette, but I just saw the picture of a deer and those horns, or the antlers, in the early morning light, and I was just sure it was going to happen. But the problem is with hunting and other things like fishing that enthusiasm only takes you so far. There's still some other things that need to go right. So I was sure it was going to happen. I was so excited, but then so I went home after not getting one Friday night, and then or the evening I hunted for about 2 hours, and then hunted in the morning Saturday. Went home, got more food, and then came back out here Sunday morning. So, didn't get anything, didn't see anything still, so maybe that thinks that in this area it's not rut time yet. Didn't do a whole lot of calling, just a little bit. But I know people have been getting some really nice bucks, so I don't know if that's just happened upon them, if it's luck or if it's calling or what. So, I'm sitting on this road here, and I can't help but think of one of the biggest issues in Alaska right now, and that's Prop 1. And I first started seeing the Stand for Salmon stuff a couple months ago, and I thought, well, duh, sounds about logical, sounds right. Stand for Salmon, vote yes on 1. So I think I had it in my head that I was going to vote yes on 1 because it stands for salmon. It had been reduced to a nice motto that I could get behind, so sure. Then I started seeing vote no on 1, and I thought, well, who in the world can vote no on 1 if vote yes is for standing with salmon? And it said, vote no for 1, stand for Alaska. Well, how can you stand for Alaska by saying no to salmon? So I went into it trying to convince myself to vote no. That way, when I was unable to convince myself to vote no, I would know exactly why I'm voting yes on Prop 1. I tell my journalism students to do that, and it was a lesson I learned in college. Taking my journalism stuff is try to convince yourself of the other opinion. If you try to convince yourself of the other side, all it does is solidify your own. Or if you do end up persuading yourself to the other side, then you've corrected a wrong. Now you actually know that what you believe, and now you actually believe. You haven't been just, bought into something because it sounded nice or because you thought all along it was this, but then it ended up being this. So I challenged myself to convince myself to vote no on 1. So I did a lot of reading. Who were the types of people who were saying no on 1, and what does it mean? So I looked at Anchorage Daily News, I looked at Juneau Empire, I made some calls, talked to some other people on Facebook. And here's the good thing about yes. Voting yes on it is about permitting, and there's 2 tiers to the permitting system. So where if you're doing a small scale type permit, you need that, then it's going to be less prohibitive, and you just have to pay special attention to any body of water that might happen to be part of a tributary that runs into salmon spawning ground, which we all know is unbelievably important. So if you're doing some stuff way up on this creek that might then end up in a tributary of a spawn or in a spawning river, which could impact spawning of salmon, that's totally bad. We know that. Even the people who are no in 1 agree that salmon should be protected. So that is good. It also is going to help through the permitting process, large scale and small scale. It's going to help spawning grounds and help preserve spawning grounds and help them from being polluted. Makes sense. Great. Awesome. So I started thinking, well, why would someone be against that? How is that a bad thing? So if the salmon populations are down, and by emotional evidence, by numbers, in a lot of areas, people are reporting that salmon populations are down. So the assumption then is, if you're voting yes for 1, this could definitely be something that helps it. But could is the big thing. Is it that fish are leaving the rivers unhealthy? Is it they aren't leaving the rivers? Like how, where, if they're not coming back, at what part of the cycle is? So saying yes on one is saying that one of the determining factors, if not the determining factor, is to make sure that these spawning areas are in good shape. If they are, then the fish should come back. It doesn't say anything about what might be happening to it out in the ocean. So if you're talking about other factors out there, if you're talking about the warm blob that's out there, herring issues, whatever it is, this does not address that. So you're saying yes to salmon in the streams. So a no could make sense. People, some of the no's that I have read are saying that you are putting all of it and you're putting the sole blame of poor returns onto tributaries of salmon and salmon spawning grounds. So if that's not the real issue, you're passing this. There's going to be increased regulation, more strict permitting for something that might not even help. And so you're asking for more regulation when it might not help. In theory, it would be great. This is what needs to be done. This is the exact thing that needs to be done. It will be fixed. The fish will return. That would be awesome. But is that really the big issue? And what are some potential unintended consequences of that? So while one of the main things that it's anti-no on one, the anti-no group, if you follow the money, as everyone says, you're looking at BP and ConocoPhillips and a lot of the oil companies, the big tyrannical oil companies are spending a lot of money for no on one, which, as much as Alaskans hate that, and we hate big oil, we hate outside money, our economy is massively influenced and dependent upon big oil. We like our perm fund checks, right? Where do we get the perm fund checks? That's from oil. Oil prices are just now recovering and they're back up. We went through a major deficit because oil prices were so low and it was messing up our state economy. So now that they're returning, some of the non-big oil people, some of the Alaskans, some of the local, there are a couple foundations here in Alaska that are also voting no on this, are saying that if you are to increase the regulation, what might that do to our economy? So just as it's starting to recover as oil prices go up, what if the new permitting process is so prohibitive? Because there's already permitting process in place. You can't just build whatever you want, wherever you want, without permitting process. You have to go through the process. So what happens if the projects that are grandfathered in, what if when they reapply, they're rejected? What if oil expansion or resource expansion, the development of that, is prohibited? What if so much money comes in, we're talking big money from outside money, what if so much money comes in from outside money in the form of lawsuits against these developments that want to expand? What if that then happens? We're talking theory here, right? So all politics are theory. We don't know what this bill is going to do until it's passed. Well, not bill, but proposition. We don't know what this is going to do until it's passed. Well, that's kind of a scary thing. So what happens if it is passed? We see what happens. We see that no fish actually come back more because there's something else going on in the marine area. It's not the tributaries. And what happens then if the permitting process is so prohibitive that we lose that much more money through the resources and the development which our state's dependent upon? And what happens then? So as I'm looking at the no on one, I'm becoming a little bit more intrigued, to say the least, that what if voting on this for the salmon ends up not helping the salmon? And what happens if that ends up hurting the economy?
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
One would think that because the permitting process here in Alaska, people know that Alaska is dependent upon resource development heavily, because we don't have a lot of the other tax revenue as other country or other states. Other states, through taxes, get so much more money into their general fund, whereas Alaska is dependent upon resource development. So what if, as a result of this, it becomes prohibitive and our resource development is hurt? That's a scary thought, because sometimes once these things are done, they can't be undone. And just because it's Alaska doesn't mean that there's going to be outside influences. That's just where we are right now. There's outside money coming from everything. There's been so much money poured in from outside money back east, wherever else, to save wolves in Southeast. So much money has been put forth into trying to get the wolves listed and trying to get people not to be able to trap wolves anymore. And then the quota set seems to be really low, and people trust biologists when it comes to their signing the yes on no, but then some people are not trusting of biologists and the numbers of wolves on Prince of Wales. So, I don't know. For me, I don't trust or distrust biologists. I think they have an impossible job when it comes to counting resources. When it comes to counting, I have no idea what it's like to count wolves. I'm not an anti biologist. Oh, they're wolf lovers. I can't. I think it's an unbelievably difficult job that they do. And I think the amount of stuff that they do for national forests is amazing. But the people who don't know anything, the people from down south who are judging Alaska by other standards, and they see Alaska as a very pure place that has yet to be ruined by development, because they go around their state and they see all these areas of land that have been ruined by big mines, and they've been ruined by oil, and they've been ruined by natural. Alaska's not like that. It's crazy the amount of space that there is. So while Alaska does have a lot of money and dependent upon, and it is very dependent upon natural resources, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind to a degree. And if this was just a new way of getting at Pebble Mine, I'd kind of understand it a little bit more, because a lot of stuff in Southeast Alaska, when they're talking about spawning habitat, they're talking about mines that are up in the headwaters, a lot of these rivers, but they're up in Canada. But this development thing, it seems like it's a really big anti-Pebble Mine thing, which I'm totally anti-Pebble Mine, without question. But then you think, okay, if because of yes on one, Pebble Mine doesn't end up getting built, which I think would be a good thing, what might be an unintended consequence of future or other things? So Pebble Mine doesn't get done, that's fine. It's crazy. But what if people use the same permitting, the same regulations, that same recipe to go after other things that aren't Pebble Mine, that really end up hurting Alaska's financial situation? So while I don't think that, people have said that it's a really confusing proposition, I don't think it's confusing as much as it's very difficult to tell what would happen. And in theory, it would be good, but also in theory, it could be harmful to our state's economy. It's absolutely not a Republican versus Democrat, right versus liberal issue, because most Alaskans kind of, I don't know, you kind of get it. You can't just be one or the other. Everything, you see the world in such a broad perspective up here. You get it on a different level. And so I know there are some people who are very very right wing, very left wing, but I think we at least find a way to at least get along with each other for the most part and have some discussions. So I'm thinking that we all understand that there's a kind of a happy middle that we have to exist upon. So this Stand for Alaska versus Stand for Salmon, it's a really interesting debate, and in trying to convince myself to vote no on one, I've uncovered some things that really are making me think, and I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to vote on this yet. But there's some good archive stuff in the Anchorage Daily News. I checked that out, checked the opinion section there. I checked out the Juneau Empire. There's some archives there about what would happen potentially to businesses. There are some people who think that you would have to have a separate permit just to kind of do things outside. So I think that's kind of a, read newspaper reporting of it. I know you say, well, you can't trust it. Just read it, Understand that if you're reading an opinion article in the Anchorage Daily News, it's an opinion article. But, people who have taken the time to read through it, you tend to get a lot more people who not all the time, of course, but people who have maybe researched things a little bit more, and your spokespeople on behalf of foundations or people who are involved in foundations who can't speak on behalf of the foundation because it's a government nonprofit. You tend to get a lot of those people in there as opposed to someone who's writing a blog post from their closet or from their basement. Which I just realized that I do blog posts and I do a podcast from my truck. Never mind then. Or never mind that part, I guess. So check out newspapers, check out the opinion articles in there, and do some reading. If you try to go and skirt all the research and skirt the reading and not be informed and just kind of go with whatever you see on Facebook. People they post the right things. They post, well, they just want your vote. Well, everyone wants your vote. Everyone's paying for your vote. People who are funding yes on one and people who are funding no on one, they're paying to try to influence. They have a nice slogan, and then they have a nice fact or a fear or something like that that's going to go along with it. Yeah, if you vote yes on one, that means you stand for salmon, and that means you want healthy habitat. Of course. Yeah, it makes sense. I can get behind that. If you vote no on one, that means that you are afraid of overregulation, and you are afraid of what it might do to the economy, and you are afraid that the bill or the proposition has nothing to do with what happens to the salmon around it. If you believe that, it's fine. But reinforce that. Do some reading, reinforce it, try to convince yourself the other side. And we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But that's my 2 cents on Prop 1. As I said, I'm not sure how I'm going to vote yet. It's a very complex issue because it deals in the theoretical. What will happen when we do it. And I'm really hesitant when people say that's just, you have to pass it to see what it does. Well, okay, but what if it doesn't do the right thing then? So, there it is. I'm gonna, now that I've had some Pringles and some protein bar and a vitamin water, I'm gonna get back out there, spend a little time out in the woods, looking for a deer, fill the freezer. I'm totally out. So make sure you go to the mediocrealaskan.com, check that out for content, and check out my blog posts for Caffeine and Kilos. Go to caffeineandkilos.com, check out the informational articles area, and check out some stuff that I've been writing for them. And we'll talk to you next time.